I think that's probably all right. Okay. This isn't like really a tour of the tent, but I'm just showing you like where the art stuff is. Oh god, I had a panic then. Oh, I was looking into this bag and I can just see like wetness, and I suddenly, my mind for a split second thought there's been a huge leak in the tent, water's got in and like soaked my materials, but it's not that. It's just some ink, and that's why I put it in this bag, some wet ink from yesterday. I just suddenly saw this kind of liquidy reflection and my heart skipped a beat. Um, yeah, so that's what's in there. Some ink in trays, but the ink's not totally dry, and I was going to use that again today. I don't know if I'm going to have time now. It's getting really dark already. I don't know where today's gone. Okay, my watercolours, white nights. Another typical Lou thing to do here. When I first got here and I had my smaller mini green summer tent, when it got to autumn, winter, and it started getting cold, people were saying if you burn candles, little tea lights in your tent, they really help with the humidity, and you'd be surprised how warm they keep things. And me, just being a bit of a daft cow at times, didn't put them on a rock or in a bowl. I left one on here. Now I'm lucky I didn't kill myself, because in the morning I woke up and the tea light had kind of like melted to the point of getting welded in this. So this actually had a welded tea light in that looked like a little like dip pen and ink hold. I managed to kind of pull it out, and then this was all kind of like stuck together. I'd like to think I do less of these things, but I do have like these moments where I do just do really stupid things like that. I'm like a cat with 9 lives, I think. These are white nights. I've had these for ages, like since 2015. And I have like the tubes of watercolours back in the UK, which I was using more for like loose watercolour. These are just more good for travel journaling and sketching, I suppose. So I haven't used these a lot. And I've got 2 of my favourite brushes in there, hence why they're in there. So I just do that every time I see them, just to try and keep that point straight. And they are clean, don't worry, I'm not sucking cadmium red or anything. Yep. Okay. It'd be good to put in a freezer, actually. I know that's a good tip, but obviously I don't even have a fridge, let alone a freezer. That's all right. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. A little... Oh, this is a travel journal I had when I first came here. You might have seen some of this. I posted some of this, not all. Some ink, but mainly watercolour, really. Ink and watercolour. I think that's a Hanamula. That's how you pronounce it. Sketchbook, watercolour sketchbook. Some carbon paper that I use for transferring images to the lino block, which is not my preferred method, but it's the only method I can do. I'll talk about that another time as well. This is watercolour paper that I don't like for watercolour. It's not bad. I mean, it's 240 GSM, which is reasonably thick. I think it's quite cheap. It's acid free, but I don't know. I just didn't like the way that the watercolour was behaving. And I've not done watercolour on paper other than in sketchbooks since I was in the UK, and I can't even remember what paper I was using then, but I was very, very particular about paper. I remember that much. And some paper I just really, really didn't like. And this is one of these types of papers. Maybe it depends on the sort of watercolour you do. I don't know. But it's quite smooth, so I reckon I could just use this for ink. Just use it like Bristol almost. Maybe even smooth enough for a dip pen. So there's loads of this stuff. And this is actual Bristol paper for dip pens. You can see I've not even used this. I came with this with the idea that I was going to do these great big A3 dip pen drawings, and then within, I think it was, when did I come here? September. In November or December, a friend of mine got a bit overexcited while they were talking, and I had my bottle of ink on the table, and with their hand, as they were gesticulating, kind of knocked the ink, and the whole thing went across the taverna floor. And at that time, that was the only ink I had really for use in a dip pen. And my fountain pen, that's it. It was the Lamy ink. And at the time, my Indian ink, I couldn't even get the lid off that. It was the Lamy ink. And little things like that, like if I lose a favourite pen or something like that, it can be enough of a psychological jar that I can just then stop. which is probably just resistance. It's just a form of resistance. But it's just something I'm aware that happens. And I didn't do any dip pen inking after that incident. I'd been working on a portrait of a rasta that's here. I didn't do any more after that because of that event. And then I got my aunt to send me some Lamy ink that arrived, I think, about 2 months ago. I haven't gone back to the dip pen inking because, of course, now the nibs are all rusty. So I need to get some more of those. So it's just like stories, these little stories behind a lot of things. I don't know if that's interesting. They're just additional information. That's the wrong box. That's my toiletry box. The right box is behind me. There's just electricals there, as you can see. This bag has a whole load of just random sketches in. Again, when I was doing head studies, like little 5-minute heads, things like this. It's full of these little sketches. There's absolutely loads of those in there. Okay, so it's this box I was talking about, but on top, as you can see, there's just general more scrap prints and doodles, lino blocks that I've kind of discarded because in my eyes they were fails. These are just kind of little doodles for a logo that I'm considering. This was someone else's lino. I was giving them a lino cutting session, like a kind of little mini lesson in the taverna. But the person didn't speak very good English and I don't speak Greek. And I don't know if you really understood me, but he started doing this very sort of abstract pattern when I was saying it's good actually to just test out mark making at first. And that's cool, or how well that would translate to a print. Maybe it would. Maybe it would have. Who knows? But I've saved it for him because he didn't finish it. I've saved it for him if he ever comes back. So that's what that is. I mean, who am I to say? I'm not. It's not like I'm a lino expert. I just wasn't sure how that was going to come out. Like through printing. More caddy paper. Circular one, which is pretty cool. I think I know what I'm going to use that for. I should put this smaller stuff actually in my wallet that I showed you before the humidity gets to it. Oh yes, Clairefontaine Craft A3. This isn't the stuff I was talking about that I used for the anatomy book. This is much thinner. The other stuff's called Paint On, I think, if I remember correctly. This is just standard Craft 90 GSM. So I'll see if I can move this box forward rather than move the camera. And this is all my other art stuff in here. So, bit of a mess. I have a palette that I was using gouache in. These paper plates somebody gave me that were made useful palettes for different things I was working on. Little sketches. More initial sketches that I've maybe used for lino. Like this. Some other stuff that I'm going to go back to, but not just yet. Some more head stuff. Again, see what I mean about the tattiness of things getting humid and then the paper starts ripping. I'm going to probably like piece this back together. I just have to laugh at myself sometimes. This tree that I was going to do for a lino print, but I wasn't happy with the shape of the tree in the end. And trees, I can't, as I said, I'm not very experienced in lighting. I can't even think how I would translate that to lino, aside from just normal black and white, but getting texture of the trees in particular. It's just a little sketch, and I've got, my friend wanted me to do them a t-shirt design, which I have in here, which I've not gone back to yet. So that's in here. Another idea I had for a poster, like a fire awareness poster here after we had an incident last year. I'm going to take that out actually, because that's one I might work on again soon. Yeah, as I sort of feel them, maybe I'll take them out, maybe I'll never feel them again and they'll just stay in here. I have some of this spray that I was going to use for pencil, fixative and charcoal. One of it, again, this is just the cheap gouache brushes, just one of these holders to stop the ends getting all mushed. more tape, some packaging tape. I've got more paper, and I've got basically when you buy fruit and vegetables, they come in these bags, and I either keep these for doing prints, or I burn them, like when I have a fire. Sometimes use them to help get the fire going. Or I saw an interesting idea the other day that was talking about different types of art therapy, and one of them was talking about using puppets to do almost like when I was a hypnotherapist. There's something called parts therapy, where you take on different roles of your psyche, or you act as a mediator between different parts of your psyche that may be in conflict. So I thought, I wonder what that would be like to do it with puppets. Like you actually create something that represents anger or like your inner critic, and you act out this stuff. Again, one of my ideas that I haven't got around to. So I have quite a few of these bags. The gouache paints in here. So this is the Talons gouache I have. I have this in the UK, but I have the jars instead of the tubes. And some more loose gouache. And again, that's kind of it really. It's just, they're more sketches of people. The box is pretty much full of that. Oh yeah, and that's just like where I keep my passport and important documents. And I think that is pretty much it for my art supplies, which is quite a lot really, considering I'm just on a really remote island living out of a tent off grid. And that's the thing, you know, like I'm sure a lot of artists are obsessed with supplies. Books is my other thing. I absolutely love books, and I don't have any physical books here, actual books. Yeah, but artists, yeah, quite often will get obsessed with supplies, and quite often this idea that if you have loads of materials, you're going to use them all, which, you know, doesn't really happen most of the time, from my experience and from speaking to other people. I'm sure it does with some, and that's great. I wish I was more, I could focus a bit more on lots of different things. So I had hoped to do is kind of turn this place more into kind of a creative space at some point. So people that maybe try something out, try some lino cutting or try some watercolors, could come here and like use my supplies, like more of a kind of community space. But again, this is just another idea of mine. I was listening to something the other day on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Adam something. But he does like loads of really great videos about sort of like the psychology of art in terms of like certain fears or certain frustrations and challenges that people face. And he was talking about three different types of artists, and I don't remember the other two, probably because my mind zoned in on the one that I was, which was the consumer. And it doesn't necessarily mean consumer in terms of like you just have loads of materials, although it could mean that. It was talking about how you want to consume loads of knowledge, so you're the sort of person perhaps that is always signing up for courses and loves the idea of learning and absorbing information. But then when it actually comes to putting these things into practice, it's rather difficult. And I think that's me, to be honest. I think that's me, kind of like the eternal student. I could definitely resonate to that. And I try and remember what the other two artists, the types of artists were. Anyway, that's enough waffle from me. So I hope you enjoyed seeing a bit of the tent. And as I said, like the difficulty I have with just, well, first of all, the fact that I'm not an organised person, so trying to be organised in a small space. Yeah, I hope that was interesting. I feel absolutely exhausted now. I think it's because the light's going really fast and I haven't had much to eat, and I've been talking quite a lot. So yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, see you soon. Bye bye.